good morning, friends, and a warm welcome to today's program on Kshetras visited by Sri Purandaradasar. V.Sriram is presenting it for us today. Last year, he handled the life history of Dikshitar. He took us from Thiruvarur to Benares, from back up to Ettayapuram. Let's see where all he takes us today. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, DC, for that introduction. Thanks very much for inviting me. DC is a man who is very difficult to say no to. So, இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு நீ வந்து வாணி மஹாலில் வந்து பேசுன்னு சொன்ன உடனே I better remove this. இது வேறு சபாவோட இண்டிகேஷன் அது. The point is that அவர் இந்த மாதிரி வந்து பேசுன்னு சொன்ன உடனே I couldn't say no, and then because we had just, Sharda and I had just come back from leading a heritage tour to Hampi, and my mind was full of Purandaradasa at that time. So I said that I will do the Kshetras of Purandaradasa. And this is a topic that I have been researching on and off, and I have been salting away information at the back of my mind. And gradually, when I started work on the presentation proper, I found that he had traveled a lot. And while we talk about Muthuswami Dikshitar as having traveled, Purandaradasa has also traveled. And if you consider that Dikshitar lived between 1775 and 1835, Purandaradasa lived between 1484 and 1564. So he was almost 2 centuries earlier. And he also appears to have traveled quite a bit. And somewhere there is, he appears to be one of the earliest composers to describe temples and leave a Kshetra Nama in the Kriti and tell us that this is where he went, this is what he visited, this is what he saw. And when you go through the songs, you also realize that in some temples, the condition hasn't changed from the time that when he went to when we are worshipping. So it establishes a remarkable continuity in Hindu Sanatana Dharma. It also establishes a great continuity in terms of our music. That a composer like Purandaradasa, who is the grandsire of Carnatic music, so to speak, was seeing something that we are also seeing. And so it also makes us wonder about our country, that while on one hand heritage gets destroyed rapidly, on the other hand heritage does survive, and it continues, and we are able to see what Purandaradasa saw. So that is really the brief. And I can't say that this is an extensively researched presentation. At the end of it, I'm sure you will come up with several kshetras and songs that I would not have covered. And I will only add it to my volume of knowledge, and then I will acknowledge you duly when I present it again somewhere when I get the opportunity. So before I take you to Purandaradasa, where is the screen, by the way? Oh, somewhere. So, okay. As long as you can see it, I'm quite happy. The Purandara himself, Purandaradasa, the place of his birth is a subject of great dispute. And even today, I mean, as recently as 3 months ago, there were newspaper articles contesting earlier claims about his place of birth and establishing other locations as his place of birth. So, but that is so true of so many composers. Narayana Tirtha's place of demise itself is a subject of dispute. How can you dispute a samadhi? But there are people who say that he did not die where he is presently buried, but there is another samadhi, and that is, so Varahur and Tirupundurti are forever locked in hostile combat over this, and each celebrates the event in a different date and a different time. So even Tyagaraja's place of birth is disputed by some. Some people say that it is not in Thiruvarur, but he was born in Thiruvayyaru itself. And so we leave it to those people to split hairs. But what we do know is that Purandaradasa was very much an entity of this great empire called the Vijayanagar Empire. The Vijayanagar Empire itself comes into existence thanks to the invasion of the Tughlaqs, which took place in the 13th century. And they left behind great chaos, and when they went back, they found that they could not administer their territory by themselves, which is when two brothers, Harihara and Bukka, come in the 1330s, and they decide to establish an empire. There are again conflicting accounts of how they got the authority to establish the empire. Some people say the Tughlaq dynasty, the Tughlaq ruler himself gave them the authorization, and they came back and they established the empire in Vijayanagar. As to how they selected the place, there is a legend that they were out hunting and they were chasing a hare when they found that the hare turned around and attacked the hounds at a particular spot. And they decided that that would be the place of the empire. And they consulted their Kula Guru, who was Madhava Vidyaranya, who was the preceptor of the Sringeri Mutt, Sringeri Sharada Peetham. And he said that this is the right place to establish the empire. And because he was Vidyaranya, it also becomes Vidyanagara Rajdhani. It is known as Vidyanagara, and as you know in Telugu, Vidya is also pronounced as Vijja. And therefore, Chagaraja is what many people pronounce Tyagaraja. So gradually over a period, it also becomes Vijayanagara, the kingdom of the city of victory. So even today, when you read the Pravaram of the Sringeri Acharyas, it will always, they will say, Karnataka Simhasanadhishwara Vidyanagara Rajdhani Tungabhadra Tiravasi. This is how they will start reading the Pravaram for the Sringeri Acharyas. Even today, they establish the connect with Vijayanagar. So Vijayanagar is established as the capital. It is not the town is Vijayanagar, which is the capital, and it is on the banks of the river Tungabhadra. In that area, the river is also known as Pampa. And because in Kannada, the word pa and ha are interchangeably used, it becomes Hampi over a period of time. And that marks the northern boundary of the Vijayanagar Empire. Established in the 1330s, and by the 1370s itself, it has conquered much of what we recognize today as peninsular India. So Madurai, Trichy, all these places come under the sway of the Vijayanagar Empire, and the Vijayanagar rulers then set about repairing the damage caused by the invaders earlier. So Srirangam is reconstructed. Several temples are endowed with land and money to construct gopuras and extended prakaras. And so between 1330 and 1565, when Vijayanagar is completely desecrated and sacked in the Battle of Talikota, almost 230 years, you find that there is an extraordinary amount of temple building, temple resurrection, the rewriting of legends, the revitalizing of the lives of saints. So there is a great resurgence of the Bhakti movement. And between 1400 and 1520, or actually even a little earlier than 1520, say between 1400 and by the early 1500s, there is one solid kingdom that forms the northern boundary of Vijayanagar, which is the Bahmani Sultanate. And so they are forever locked in combat with each other between Vijayanagar and the Bahmani kingdom. And each time the Vijayanagar kingdom, it cannot be denied, actually comes off a little badly off in all its combats with the Bahmani Sultanate. And then in the early 1500s, the Bahmani Sultanate splinters and becomes 5 independent kingdoms: Bidar, Berar, Ahmednagar, Bijapur and Golconda. And once that happens, Vijayanagar really becomes the most powerful empire in South India. They stop paying tributes to the Bahmani Sultanate. In fact, for some time, there is a Bahmani Sultan in Gulbarga. He is crowned at the behest of the Vijayanagar ruler. So, in fact, Krishnadevaraya, who is the greatest king of the Vijayanagar Empire and who ruled between 1509 and 1529, he gives himself the title of crowning the sultans in the north. That is how he recognizes himself. So it is only with his blessings that the Bahmani Sultan is crowned in Gulbarga, but the powers have gone from that man's hands, and it is these 5 kingdoms. And as long as they are splintered, everything is fine with Vijayanagar. It has an extraordinary amount of wealth, no tribute to be paid to anybody, and all that money is pumped into the building of temples all along peninsular India. So today, when you go to Kalahasti, till recently, we celebrated Krishnadevaraya's 500th year of accession by allowing the Gopuram that he built in Kalahasti to collapse. So that was our tribute to that great ruler. For several years, a vertical crack was developing in that the Gopuram, and everybody who saw it, including the wonderful Archaeological Survey of India, a very learned body, and doing a lot of good work in its own speed, which is the only thing that I have to complain about. They said, yes, we must do something about it. Yes, it's widening. Yeah, isn't it? It's becoming a little wider since we last saw. Yes, something must be done. A file must be created on it. And one day the temple Gopuram took its own fate into its hands and collapsed. And that ended the story of the Vijayanagar Gopuram in Kalahasti. But if you go down to Kanchi, you go down to Kumbakonam, you go down to Srirangam, you will find several, you go up to Srivilliputur, which is deep down south. You will find there are several Gopurams attributed to the Vijayanagar rulers, Azhagar Kovil. You will also find Raya Gopurams, which are invariably Mota Gopurams. There is nothing built further, which means the endowment was created to build a Gopuram. The first level was built. Thereafter came either the king died or the Battle of Talikota happened, and the rest of the Gopuram was never constructed. In Srivilliputur, you will find a later, thanks to Thirumalai Nayak, much later, a Gopuram was built, and the Gopuram has no connection with the temple because a compound wall was to be built to integrate the Gopuram with the rest of the Andal Rangamanar shrine and Vatapatrashayi shrine, but it never happened. And so the Gopuram stands by itself a little distance outside the temple, and that is the symbol, as we all know, of the government of Tamil Nadu. So these are all examples of what the kings were doing at that time. And at its height, when Krishnadeva was the ruler between 1509 and 1529, it not only included South India, it also included a significant part of Orissa. So that was the extent of the empire. You can see that there is a narrow neck which then connects it with Orissa. So with Orissa coming in, a large quantity of tribute by way of rice, by way of several other products began to come into Vijayanagar. The Coromandel coast, which is where we are, was supplying cloth in huge quantities, and that was also being exported. Horses were being imported from Saudi Arabia, so it was a very, very bustling and dynamic empire. And it gave, during the time that this empire existed, we also had this huge bhakti movement, the Dasa Kuta, the Dasas who sang the glories of the Lord and went from place to place, just spreading the word of bhakti. So it's very interesting that on one side there was so much material prosperity. At the same time, there was a lot of spiritual prosperity as well. So one side you had merchants and kings and rulers getting tribute and establishing temples and all that. The other side you also had a huge quantity of dasas, numbers of dasas going around singing from place to place. None other than Vyasaraya was the chancellor of the university that was created in Hampi by Krishnadeva. And his disciples were Kanakadasa and Purandaradasa. They all came and took initiation into the Dasakuta from Vyasaraya himself. So this was the glory of Vijayanagar, and this was the glory of the Dasakutas. And this is the plan of the capital of Hampi, which today is just a collection of the most wonderful ruins possible. But when you go there, you just need to take a book of Purandaradasa with you, and you walk around and he comes alive at every corner. You suddenly find a reference in one song which you think could probably be this place. It could probably be that place. He's suddenly talking about people giving charity. Suddenly he's talking about a courtesan. So you realize you're standing in front of the Sule Bazaar, which is the courtesan's quarter in Vijayanagar. Then he's talking about making ornaments. So you realize there's a jeweler's bazaar over there. He's singing about Krishna. There is a wonderful Krishna temple. Rama, there's a Rama temple. Achyuta, there is a Achyuta temple. So and so on and so forth. For every song of Purandaradasa, you sometimes think that everything was in Hampi, but that is not so. We'll carry on with the rest of the story. Krishnadeva was crowned king in 1509 and he ruled up to 1529 for 20 years only. And he was perhaps not older than 50 when he died. But he left behind such a long impress on our minds that even today we are living off the bounty of Krishnadeva in several ways because of some of the temples that he established, some of the scholars whom he encouraged. The entire concept of poetry in Telugu comes to its fruition under Krishnadeva. And Krishnadeva writes one of the greatest kavyas of Andhra poetry, which is called the Amukta Malyada, which is the story of Goda, Andal, in Tamil. He writes it in Telugu. And he also leaves behind a beautiful description of life in Vijayanagar, in the entire kingdom. When you read that poetry, with that poem, you get an idea as to how people lived, how kings lived, how the devotees lived, and so on. Then there was Tenali Ramakrishna, who was his court poet and who was one of the Ashtadiggajas, the oldest being Alasani Peddanna, who wrote Manucharitam, and the youngest being Tenali Ramakrishna, who wrote Panduranga Mahatmyamu. So along with Manucharitam, Panduranga Mahatmyamu, then the Amukta Malyada, and then there are two others, Parijata Apaharana of Pingali Suranna and one more. These five form the first five Mahakavyas in Telugu. And from then, Prabandha Kavyas in Telugu. And from then on, the tradition of composing Prabandhas goes forward. So you had great compositional strengths as well in Vijayanagar at that time, while Purandara Dasa was living there. Now, Purandara Dasa was born in 1484, and we do have this long persisting legend. I call it a legend because we have no idea as to when Purandara was really born. There is no record really which says that he was born in 1484. We do not know where he was born because that is a subject of dispute. But we do have this legend that says that Purandara was Srinivasa Nayak, who was a jeweler or was a money lender by profession and a skinflint who would not give money for anything, even for the treatment of his father. The legend goes that the father was very ill and he said, it's all right for an old man, he has to die in any case, so what's the point in something that Apollo hospitals may not agree with today. But that was, Purandara Dasa's, Srinivasa Nayak's way of living. And then comes this Brahmin to say that, his son's sacred thread ceremony is going to be performed. Purandara chases him away. And then the Brahmin goes to Saraswati, who is the wife of Purandara Dasa, and says that I have got to perform the sacred thread ceremony of my son. And Saraswati takes off her diamond nose ring and gives it to him and says, go and sell it and use it. And he comes to Purandara to sell it. And Srinivasa Nayak. And he immediately recognizes it. So he keeps it here and then he goes home and then he asks the wife as to where is the diamond nose ring. And then through the grace of God, it arrives in the puja room where she has gone to pray and to take her life because her husband has suspected her and she doesn't know what to answer. And when she gives the diamond ring, he goes back to the shop and finds the identical one, and then he asks his wife and she tells him that this is what happened. They search for the Brahmin who's nowhere to be found. Srinivasa Nayak realizes that there is a higher life and he immediately gives up everything. He becomes a Dasa. And together with his wife and his 3 sons, he becomes a member of the Dasakuta. How do we interpret that this is what he did? In one song, he says, blessed is my wife because of whom I took to this staff. So, and he says, may her tribe increase, may her family be wealthy, and may her family be happy because of her I have taken to this. There is a wonderful book by William Jackson, which is the songs of 3 great South Indian saints, which is Annamacharya, Purandara Dasa, and Kanakadasa, published by, who's this? Oxford, and available at Motilal Banarsi Das. So if you want to read more, you should look at this book. So it says, whatever has happened has all been for the best. It has become a rich opportunity for serving further Sridhara. Adadella oliye aitu. Everything that has happened to the good. Once I was ashamed of holding the staff. May my wife's family increase 1,000-fold. Because of her, I have come to hold the sadhu staff. So we do know that the wife played a very significant role in this conversion, and that gives credence to this story as well, a credibility to this story. And he is initiated into the Dasakuta by Vyasaraya. That is well documented. And Vyasaraya says, among Dasas, you have to be Purandara Dasa. So he also recognizes the greatness of his disciple. He also recognizes Purandara Dasa recognizes the greatness of Kanaka Dasa, who is the other disciple of Vyasaraya also. So the Dasakuta define Godhead in 3 forms. Anna Brahma, Kanchana Brahma, and Nada Brahma. So Nada Brahma, the deity who is to be worshipped with music, is Purandara Vithala of Pandharpur. The Kanchana Brahma, who is the Brahma made of gold, no prices for guessing, Srinivasa in Tirumala. And Anna Brahma is Udupi Krishna, where feeding happens on a continuous basis all the time. So these are the three great deities of the Dasakuta. And they are, you will find that they are invariably covered in the compositions of the saints of the Dasakuta. And of course, Purandara Dasa takes his Ankita as Purandara Vithala. And therefore, we assume the story is that he was born in Purandargarh or Pandharpur, and from then on he travelled. We have no idea whether he was born there. But what cannot be denied is that Vithala was not in Pandharpur during the time of Krishnadeva. Vithala had been brought away to Vijayanagar, and he had been kept here. And a great temple for Vithala was being built and built and built without end by the kings of Vijayanagar. Every king embellished that temple. Of course, during Krishnadeva's time, a Mahant comes from Pandharpur and requests the ruler to return Vithala to him. And so Vithala is returned and Vithala is taken back to Pandharpur. And a replacement idol obviously would have been placed in this particular temple. That was not completed even in 1565 when Vijayanagar was destroyed. So this temple, nobody knows when it started. And they kept building it and building it and building it. And even today it is there as a magnificent ruin. When you go there, you can see that all of them must have lavished their wealth on this particular temple. They must have employed the best artisans, the best craftsmen, the best jewelers to decorate. And the area of the temple is so immense that even today you are taken in a buggy all the way to the temple, battery-drawn vehicle. You can't. Those of us who are physically able can walk. And even as you are walking or you are driving along in that buggy, you will find there are mantapas that are half finished, half destroyed, enormous horse statues put up in front of all the mantapas. Behind the temple, there is a further area which is leading down up to the river. If it had survived in its entirety, it would have been a magnificent temple. As a ruin, it is no less. That is what I would like to say. So, Vithala himself was in Hampi for some time. So, whether Purandara sang of him in Vijayanagar or whether he sang of him in Pandharpur, we do know that he sang of him in plenty of his songs. If Vithala temple was being constructed without end during the time of the Vijayanagar rulers, there was one temple that existed even before Vijayanagar and that even today remains in worship there, and that is the Pampapati temple or the Virupaksha temple. This temple had existed even before Vijayanagar came to this particular area. And it continued in existence, and it was the only temple that was not destroyed by the invaders in 1565. So the worship, as to why, we have no idea. Even today, there are a number of theories established as to why the Virupaksha temple escaped the wrath of the invaders, but it did. And you can still see that much of it is intact. And this Gopuram that you see over here was built by Krishnadeva to mark his accession to the throne in 1509. There is a huge stone slab inside which gives the full details of the construction of this temple, of this particular Gopura. The Swami here is known as Pampapati because it is believed that he married Tungabhadra, the river Pampa, as his consort, and the goddess here is the river. And the water of the river actually flows up to the kitchen and then goes out. And the food today for the temple is even today cooked from the water of the Tungabhadra only. And this is a fairly large temple. When you go there, you realize that the simplest of songs that all of us began learning was composed over here. And I'm going to play a video because what happened was 45 of us went to this temple along with Ashwath Narayanan, the singer. And when we went there, we then climbed up the Hemakuta hill, which is just next to the Virupaksha temple. It was dusk, and I said, you must sing here. So he said, sir, this song everybody will know. So if you don't mind, with your permission, I will request everybody to sing. So all 45 of us in different shrutis, pitches, talas, just like we all do when we were young, we all shrieked and howled, Kunda Gaura Gauri Vara, Mandiraya Mana Makuta, Mandaras Kusumakara, Makarandam Vasituva, Hemakuta, Simhasana, Virupaksha, Manavashrita. So this is the Hemakuta hill with Virupaksha temple just next to it. And soon that crowd of 45 had become 100 or so, because every tourist there knew the song. So they all assumed that it was some choral singing that was happening, so they all came and began singing along with us. I'll just, after that build-up, I hope this video works. So now... You can hear all Shrutis. The Adhara Shadjam is lost completely. There's one man video recording us. We don't even know who he is right at the back. This is the Vithala temple which I told you about, which never attained completion and was destroyed in 1565. The chariot that you see in the middle is today the symbol of the government of Karnataka's tourism department. And it is the most photographed structure in the whole of Karnataka. Everybody will stand next to it and take a photograph. So this Vithala probably stood here, we don't know. And this is probably where Purandara composed many of his songs on Vithala. We don't know about that. This is Krishna in Udupi. So this is the Anna Brahma. And as you know, here, thanks to Purandara's friend, we can't see Krishna face to face. You have to see him through a Navadvara, which is called Kanakana Kindi. Because when Kanakadasa came, they refused to allow him inside the temple because of his background. And so Krishna turned in the direction of where Kanakadasa faced. And so he got the darshan, and today all of us have to look at Krishna from that window. And let us hear a small a part of a song that Purandara composed on Udupi Krishna before we go further.
Kandena Udupiya Krishnana Kandena Udupiya Krishnana Bhumandaladolage Uddanda Mahimana Kandena Udupiya Krishnana Bhumandaladolage Uddanda Mahimana Kandena Udupiya Krishnana ಸಮುದ್ರವನ ಕಂಡು ಸ್ನಾನಾದಿಗಳ ಮಾಡಿ ಚಂದ್ರಮೌಳೀಶ್ವರನ ಚರಣ ಕೆರಗಿ ಸಮುದ್ರವನ ಕಂಡು ಸ್ನಾನಾದಿಗಳ ಮಾಡಿ ಚಂದ್ರಮೌಳೀಶ್ವರನ ಚರಣ ಕೆರಗಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾ
The reason why I played this song for you is it gives an entire description of the reason why I played that recording to you is that it describes the whole of Udupi town, this particular song. It says that I saw, I'm not reading the Kannada, but I'm reading a rough translation that I have done of the composition. So it says, I saw Udupi Krishna. I first had a bath in the sea. And then I saw the Chandramaulishwara temple. Then I saw Anandeshwara. Then I worshipped Hanuman. And then I went to worship Udupi Krishna. Even today, this is the normal tradition. When pilgrims go, they will go and pay their respects to all these temples. And then they will go inside. And then once he goes inside, he is able to see the Surya Prabha. He is able to see the Madhva Sarovara. He is able to see Ashta Munigala Kande. Those are the 8 mutts that are there in Udupi. Ashta Munigala Kande. Then Prasiddhavagiruva Sri Udupiya Krishnana Kande. After that, I saw the famous Udupi Krishna. He was holding the mat in one hand, etc., etc. That whole description then follows of this, or in this particular song. But if he if he went to see, as I said, he has already sung on Nada Brahma, then he is singing about the Anna Brahma. Then let us see what he has to say about Kanchana Brahma. This is Venkatachalapati. Krishna Deva in his lifetime goes at least 7 times to Tirumala and lavishes endowments on the temple. On one occasion in 1521, he is extraordinarily happy because he's had a son. And he goes to Tirumala temple in thanksgiving, and he does a lot of donations to the temple. Of course, the child dies within a year of his coming back. And then Krishnadeva doesn't have a son till 1528, when he has a son again, and that child also dies. And it is in that grief that Krishnadeva actually passes away in 1529. So the temple of Tirumala acquires a lot of fame during the time of Purandaradasa. As I said, Krishnadeva rules between 1509 and 1529. Purandaradasa lived between 1484 and 1564. Assume that he was middle-aged by the time he acquired this realization. It must have been right in the middle of Krishnadeva's reign that he must have come and he must have met Vyasaraya and he must have become a member of the Dasakuta. So he goes to the Tirumala temple when it is in all its glory. We'll hear Vasanta Kumari sing Venkatachala Nilayam, and I'll pull out a few references for you in the meantime.
Venkatachala Nilayam Vaikunta Puravatam Venkatachala Nilayam Vaikunta Puravatam Venkatachala Nilayam Vaikunta Puravatam Pankajanetram Paramapavitram Pankajanetram Paramapavitram Pankajanetram Paramapavitram Shankachakradhara Chinmaya Rupam Venkatachala Nilayam Vaikunta Puravasam.
So in this particular song that I just tried to locate it, but I'm unable to, but the song is basically a step-by-step description of how you go into the Venkateshwara temple in Tirumala. It says, first I had my bath in the Sarovara that is there. Then I saw the Varahaswami. Having had his darshanam, I went to this Mahadwara. Then I entered the Mahadwara. I saw the Dvajastambha with Garuda there. Then I joined the huge crowds in entering the shrine. And once I went there, then he describes the deity from head to foot and describes all the ornaments. So this huge crowd, I don't know whether Jarugandi existed at that time, but it almost appears as though he also was one of us going into this particular temple to witness what was happening over there. And the structure, even today when you go to Tirumala, despite all the crowd that we have over there, you still are expected to have a bath in that Ananda Sarovara and then go and have a darshan of Varaha Murti and only then go in. Even today they will say that if you have not had a darshan of Varaha Murti, your visit to Tirumala is incomplete. Most of us bypass it, of course. We don't go in. We just need to go in and come out. That's the most important thing for us. But this is the proper way of doing it, and Purandara establishes that particular tradition. There are any number of songs on Narasimha. Some of the Narasimhas, we have no idea where he composed them, but 3 of them we do, 2 of them we know, no, 3 actually. We know where he did compose some of those songs. But the biggest monolith in Vijayanagar is this Narasimha. Originally a Lakshmi Narasimha, with the Lakshmi seated on the on the left thigh of Narasimha, facing him at right angles to him. You can actually see a part of her arm still stuck to the idol. Let me see if I can get it for you. There is a slender on the left arm of Narasimha. You can see one slender stone column going through. That is actually her hand. So the idol was completely hacked off, as were the hands of the Shankha and the Chakra of this particular Narasimha. And this idol, we know, thanks to a stone inscription on its side, that it was done in 1528, just 1 year before Krishnadeva was going to pass away. And so this must have been a huge awe-inspiring structure even during Purandaradasa's time. But he has composed on other temples, and one of the interesting temples that he appears to have gone to is Namakkal. Where is Vijayanagar? Where is Namakkal? That, he has traveled all that distance near Salem. Simha Rupanada Sri Hare He Namagiri Sane. This is a song that he has composed, and in the book that I have, it says Kedara Gaula, but I could not locate any particular recording of this particular song. But he appears to have traveled all the way up to Namakkal, visited that particular shrine, and gone back. During, of course, what is Purandaradasa without compositions on Krishna? And the several songs are there. Jagadodharana is there, which is what I'm going to play for you now. But the very worship of Krishna was very big in Vijayanagar during the time of Krishna Deva. It is interesting to see that the Vijayanagar rulers started off as Shaivites. But by the time of Krishna Deva, they had become staunch Vaishnavites. And Madhvacharya's philosophy is what they followed. It is not that they neglected the Shiva temples. They continued their worship there. But the big temples that were going to be constructed were all that of Mahavishnu. And King Krishna Deva himself undertook a battle to conquer Kalinga or Orissa, the Gajapatis of Orissa whom he conquered in 1520 or thereabouts. And having conquered the Gajapati, he brings away the Gajapati's son and wife to Vijayanagar and keeps them as hostage so that he can negotiate terms with the ruler. He becomes very friendly with the son of the Gajapati ruler, and that boy is an expert fenceman, swordsman. And Krishna Deva once says that you should give a demonstration of your skill. And the prince agrees. And next day in the morning when he arrives at the arena, he discovers that he has to fight with a soldier and not with the king himself. See, Krishna Deva was a superb athlete himself. And this is documented very well, all his exercise regime, his physical fitness, how he would get up at 3 in the morning, cover himself with sesame oil, and then lift weights. And till all the oil had been sweated out of his body. Then he would go on a horse ride at super speed all around Vijayanagar, which was 60 miles in circumference, mind you. And then come back and then box with his special trainers, and then go and have a bath and then worship and go on to take the throne every day in the morning. So he was a physical fitness. See, he must have been on this original keto diet or whatever it is in his lifetime. And he must have had 6-pack abs for all you know. So the prince expects that the ruler is going to fence with him, and when he realizes that it's a common soldier, he says that I really feel sorry for my fate, that somebody of royal blood like me is going to fight with a common soldier, and he stabs himself and kills himself. This news goes back to the Gajapati, who says that I have lost my son. I would at least request that my wife is returned to me in safety. Krishna Deva agrees, but lays a condition that Gajapati's daughter should be given in marriage to him. And so the princess is sent. The princess is naturally not well inclined to King Krishna Deva, because he is responsible for the loss of prestige of the family, and the brother has been killed. And so the Krishna Deva himself is told that when you go to marry her, do not go in person, send your sword. And just by touching the sword, she will become your wife. But he is unable to resist, so he goes as one of the palanquin bearers of this sword. And she recognizes him because in all the chaos of the wedding, they never removed the special anklet around his foot, which signifies that he is the king. So she packs a sword into her marriage garb, sari, and when she meets him in private, when he touches her, the sword falls down, and he realizes that she was going to make an attempt on his life. So he banishes her, and then she spends the rest of her life full of respect, full of wealth, in a place called Kambam in Andhra, and she is never allowed to come to meet Krishna Deva thereafter. But Krishna Deva falls in love with a Krishna idol that is in Orissa, a Balakrishna idol, and he brings the Balakrishna idol to Vijayanagar, and he builds this big temple which is known as the Krishna temple in Vijayanagar. In the sack of Hampi, that particular temple is destroyed and the arms of that idol are cut off and it is just thrown away there. Today it is in the government museum in Chennai. So if at all you want to see it, you should go and see it here. wonderful Balakrishna seated with one hand resting on his thigh. We don't know what the other hand was doing because it is completely destroyed. So this Krishna temple is huge, and I'm not saying that Purandara would have composed Jagadodharana here, but I'm just saying that this probably could have been one of the locations. So let's listen to Jagadodharana before we go further. This is another view. This is the Hazara Rama temple, but I don't know what I did with Jagadodharana. Let me see if it comes later. But this is the Hazara Rama temple, which is a Rama temple that Krishna Deva creates. There are lots of songs of Purandara Dasa on Rama. And there is one song which is a Dodaya Mangalam, which is Jaya 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 Janaki Kanta, which is almost the way the king would have been hailed when he stepped onto the throne every day in the morning. So because this was a royal temple, I have chosen to put Jaya Jaya here in this particular slide.
Jaya 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 Janaki Kanta Jaya Sadhu Jana Vimuta Jaya Dubaki Mananta Jaya Bhagavanta Jaya 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 Janaki Kanta Jaya Sadhu Jana Vimuta Jaya Dubaki Mananta Jaya Bhagavanta Jaya 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 Janaki Kanta Jaya Sadhu Jana Vimuta Jaya Dubaki Mananta Jaya Bhagavanta Jaya 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 Janaki Kanta Jaya Sadhu Jana Vimuta Jaya Dubaki Mananta Jaya Bhagavanta Jaya Jaya.
Now, in Hampi itself, there is a Yantrodharaka Anjaneya Swami temple. This is one of several Anjaneya Swami temples. I think there are around 300 of them, if I'm not mistaken, consecrated by Vyasaraya himself. And these exist all over South India. So you go to I think we were there in... where was this? In Bhikshandar Kovil or some such thing recently, where also they have an Anjaneya consecrated by Vyasaraya there. And they show the symbol of why they consider it to be a Vyasaraya's Anjaneya, because it's got its tail lifted up and there is a bell hanging at the top. That is not here. And he's holding a flower in one hand. So that, they say, is typical of the Anjaneyas that Vyasaraya consecrated. Now, this particular temple is a very tiny shrine on the banks of the Tungabhadra, and you have to walk on a very rocky path all along the Tungabhadra river. And suddenly you will find that the rocks are so big that they actually form an arch above your head, and you walk through the arch and then you come out onto the other side. And at one particular place, the Tungabhadra becomes a circle. It circles itself and then goes out in the other direction. So that's called Chakratirtha. And when you go up the Chakratirtha, you climb a small flight of steps and then you come to this tiny temple. This is called the Yantrodharaka Anjaneya Swami temple, because it is said that Vyasaraya tried consecrating Anjaneya here, but he kept flying away. Finally, Vyasaraya created this star-shaped yantra and pushed Anjaneya inside and said, stay here, don't get out of this particular place. So he is considered to be a living idol. And because it was such a humble temple, it escaped the desecration when the invaders came in 1565. This and a temple next to it for Sugriva, these have survived completely. And so here Anjaneya Swami is worshipped. Tiny cave of a temple, and this is where Purandaradasa composes Swami Mukhya Prana. Because it says Yantrodharaka Nindu. I'll play the video again because that's the only recording I have, and then we'll go on further. Some conversation and all will be there.
ಪ್ರಾಣನಿ ಮಲೆವರೆ ಗಂಟಲಗಾನ ಸಕಲ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಪ್ರವೀಣನಿ ಹಿಡಿದಯೋ ರಾಮರ ಚರಣ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪ್ರಾಣನಿ ಮಲೆವರೆ ಗಂಟಲಗಾನ ಸಕಲ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಪ್ರವೀಣನಿ ಹಿಡಿದಯೋ ರಾಮರ ಚರಣ. Sorry, now whatever point. So in the Kirtana Lakshanas, you see, Ekakshara Prasa, Dvitiyakshara Prasa. Now, in this song, it's Antyakshara Prasa. So all the last words will be rhyming. Rudra, Bhadra. Samudra, and the Madilla. Then in the Charanam you will see Bandhu, Nindu, Sahanindu, and the Madilla. So all last words will rhyme. Just wanted you to notice that. Ekadashi Rudrani ಏಕಾದಶಿ ರುದ್ರನಿ ಹಿಡಿದಯೋ ರಾಮರ ಮುದ್ರ ಏಕಾದಶಿ ರುದ್ರ ನೀ ಹಿಡಿದಯೋ ರಾಮರ ಮುದ್ರ ಸೇತುವೆ ಗಟ್ಟಿ ಸಮುದ್ರ ನೀ ಹಾರಿದಯೋ ಬಲಭದ್ರ ಸೇತುವೆ ಗಟ್ಟಿ ಸಮುದ್ರ ನೀ ಹಾರಿದಯೋ ಬಲಭದ್ರ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪ್ರಾಣನಿ ಮಲೆವರೆ ಗಂಟಲ ಗಾನ ಸಕಲ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಪ್ರವೀಣನಿ ಹಿಡಿದಯೋ ರಾಮರ ಚರಣ ವೈಕುಂಠ ಸ್ಥಳದಿದ್ದ ಬಂದು ಪಂಪಾ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರ ನಿರಂದು ವೈಕುಂಠ ಸ್ಥಳದಿಂದ ಬಂದು ಪಂಪಾ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರ ನಿರಂದು ಯಂತ್ರೋದ್ಧಾರಕ ನಿಂದು ಮಂತ್ರೋದ್ಧಾರಕ ನಿಂದು ಯಂತ್ರೋದ್ಧಾರಕ ನಿಂದು ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲನ ಸಹಲೆಂದು ಯಂತ್ರೋದ್ಧಾರಕನೆಂದು ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲನ ಸಹಲೆಂದು ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪ್ರಾಣನಿ ಮಲೆವರೆ ಗಂಟಲಗಾನ ಸಕಲ ವಿದ್ಯಾ ಪ್ರವೀಣನಿ ಹಿಡಿದಯೋ ರಾಮರ ಚರಣ.
The reason why I wanted to play the whole thing is the Charanam, the Mudra, the Kshetra Mudra comes at the end. The other thing is, this is one of the few temples in Hampi where you know Purandara composed there. Otherwise, everything is a ruin today and you can just assume one or the other. But this you know for sure, so that's the reason why I brought it up. I also, in the midst of all that, while you were listening to the song, I was very frantically looking for that Tirupati song. And I found it, I'm very happy to say. So the part of the line is, ಏಸು ಜನ್ಮದ ಪುಣ್ಯ ಬಂದೋದದಿಗದೋ ಶ್ರೀ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಪುಷ್ಕರಣಿಯೋಳ್ ಸ್ನಾನ ಜಪತಪ ಮಾಡಿ ವರಹರ ದೇವರ ನೋಡಿ ಶ್ರೀ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಮಹಾದ್ವಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಸರಿವರನು ಈಡಾಡಿ ಪ್ರದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಮಾಡಿ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಡನ್ ಪ್ರದಕ್ಷಿಣಂ ದೆನ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಆ ಸುವರ್ಣ ಗರುಡ ಕಂಬವೆನ ನೋಡಿ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಸೀನ್ ದ ಗೋಲ್ಡನ್ ಗರುಡ ಫ್ಲಾಗ್ ಸ್ಟಾಫ್ ಸಂತೋಷದಿಂ ಕೊಂಡಾಡಿ ಇಡಿದೆ ಪೀಡತೆ ದೆನ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ಸ್ಲೋಲಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ದರ್ಶನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಇನ್ ದ ಮಿಡಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಅ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಕ್ರೌಡ್ ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್ ಸಮ್ವೇರ್ ಹಿಯರ್ 1 second. ನೆಟ್ಟನೆ ರಡನೆ ದ್ವಾರವನೇ ತಾಂಡಿ ಹೋಗುದಲ್ಲಿ ದಟ್ಟನೆಯು ಬಹುಜನದಲ್ಲಿ. So the Kutam is not yesterday or day before yesterday, it has been there ever since. So then we come to this Chennakeshava temple in Belur. Today this is known as Halabid. And this temple was built by a dynasty even before Vijayanagara. This was built by the Hoysalas. And it took in its time, commissioned by a king called Vishnuvardhana, about whom it is believed that he had a strong association with Ramanuja. But that is disputed by historians and they say that the timelines do not match. But it took 103 years to build and it was completed in the 13th century and almost immediately thereafter destroyed, then rebuilt by the Vijayanagar rulers, once again destroyed post the Vijayanagar collapse, again rebuilt in the 18th century and has ever since remained, and it is one of the great tourist spots today. There is a song of Purandaradasa on this particular temple also. Belura Chenna Keshavana, it says in that particular song, so we know that he has travelled here. There is a very intriguing one-line reference to Bhadradri Rama. In a song which has got several other words, it says that he refers to Rama at Bhadradri. And we do know that Bhadrachala Rama existed as a shrine, but it was a very minor shrine before Bhadrachala Ramadasa spent palace money and got it rebuilt. So what is likely is that even during Purandaradasa's time, this particular temple must have been famous enough for him to refer to it. And then for Ramadasa to have then expanded on the temple. Of course, Tyagaraja then pays respect to Ramadasa in his composition in Kshirasagara Shayana, where he says that, he talks about Ramadasa and he mentions him in yet another song as well. I think it's in Kshirasagara Shayana where he says that if I was Ramadasa, Sita would have interceded on my behalf and spoken to you. Because Ramadasa composes a song, Nannu Brovamani Cheppave Sitamma Talli. So this is an indirect reference to that by Tyagaraja. So we have one temple that connects Purandaradasa, Bhadrachala Ramadasa and Tyagaraja, all three of them, one after the other, and that is this particular shrine. He has composed on Ahobilam Narasimha. There are songs on Ahobilam where he talks about all the Narasimhas in that particular area. He talks about the temple itself. He talks about the Matha. Now, because he, Krishnadeva goes to Orissa, it appears that Purandaradasa followed him. There is one song on Krishna where he refers to him as Nilagiri Vasa. And this is Nilachala. In the Orissa parlance, Puri, Swami Jagannatha of Puri is also known as Nilachalanatha. So, did Purandaradasa go here? I cannot say so with certainty, but perhaps he was aware of the fact that there is a temple there and he composed on it. But when we know that Adi Shankara composed a Jagannatha Ashtakam with every verse ending with Jagannatha Swami Nayanapata Agami Bhavatume, it is quite likely that Purandaradasa also could have visited, because Krishnadeva had created that narrow neck and had conquered Orissa, so Purandaradasa could have followed, could have gone and composed there as well. There are several songs on Ranganatha. Several songs on Ranganatha. We don't know which Ranganatha. Is it the Ranganatha of Srirangapatna, or is it the Ranganatha of Srirangam? We have no idea. But this is the Ranganatha of Srirangapatna. Coming down from Srirangapatna, Kannara Kande Achyutana, which is sung in Varali. Kanchi Koti Punya Kariraja Varadana. Who is Kariraja Varadana? Varadaraja of Kanchipuram. Kanchi Koti Punya Kariraja Varadana. So he is very clearly establishing that he came and saw Varadaraja in Kanchipuram. And the temple of Varadaraja Swami, several temples in Kanchipuram bear the impress of the Vijayanagar Empire. Much of the Gopurams today, it's Pallava, then Chola, then much of Vijayanagar, which is really there in Kanchipuram today. And so we can very seriously believe that Purandaradasa came here and composed this particular song.
Kandana Chutana Kanchi Punja Kodi Kariraja Varadana Kannara Kandana Chutana Kanchi Punja Kodi Kariraja Varadana Kannara Kandana Chutana Kanchi Punja Kodi Kariraja Varadana Kannara Kandana Chutana.
And Kanchi Punya Koti Kariraja Varadana. Dikshitar, we always knew, would include Utpalavaka Vimanam, Sushobhita, Pranavakara Divya Vimanam. This is Punya Koti Vimanam in Varadaraja Swami temple. So Kanchi Punya Koti Kariraja Varadana. அவ்வளோ அழகாக அந்த ஒரு சின்ன அந்த கோபுரத்தோட ரெஃபரன்ஸை கூட அந்த he has the விமானத்தோட ரெஃபரன்ஸை he has brought it in. There is one song on Anjaneya in Sholingar. It says Ghatikachala Giri. Ghatikachalam is this Sholingar only, and it also says that with 4 arms you are facing the Narasimha. So we do know that in after all in Sholingar the Narasimha is on the higher hill, which looks as though it is more difficult to climb, but that is only till you realize what you have to do when you climb the Anjaneya Swami hill, which is shorter but even tougher. And the Anjaneya is positioned in such a way that he is looking directly at the Narasimha who is on the Narasimha hill, and it is a Chaturbhuja Anjaneya with Shankha and Chakra. That is what Purandaradasa mentions in his composition also. And even today when you go there, if you are there at the Deeparadhana time, you will see how the Deeparadhana is done to the Narasimha in such a way that Anjaneya Swami has got a direct line of sight to Narasimha and the Deeparadhana that is taking place there. So Purandaradasa has visited the temple, he has composed on it. Of course, later Muthuswami Dikshitar also comes to the same temple and composes twin songs, Narasimha Agacha Mohanam, Pavanatmaja Agacha in Nata, with the same similar construction. And in Narasimha Agacha, he has my favorite story, which even though is not relevant to Purandaradasa, I am going to bring it in here, which is Suruchira Karigiri Vichara Varada. That Doddacharya story. Doddacharya, who was such a great devotee of Kanchipuram Varadaraja Swami temple, that he would never miss the Garuda Vahanam, the Garuda Seva on whenever it happened. But he grows old and then he is unable to come, and then he remains in Sholingar because he is unable to travel. And when that happens, the Garuda Seva comes out of the temple and the Ashariri says, lower the umbrellas because my devotee has to see me. So even today, when the Varadaraja Swami comes out in the Garuda Vahanam in Kanchipuram, there will be one moment when they will lower the umbrellas, and the belief is that Doddacharya is seeing him from Sholingar, which is Suruchira Karigiri Vichara Varada. The person who is forever thinking about Karigiri, you gave him a boon. This is in Narasimha Agacha. So similar legends like that. This is the Anjaneya for whom there is a Purandaradasa composition. He then comes to Kumbheshwara Swami temple in Kumbakonam. We do know that the concept of Mahamakham, which is celebrated today every 12 years, really acquires stature during the time of the Vijayanagar Empire. And King Krishnadeva himself came to attend one Mahamakham in Kumbakonam. Purandaradasa also comes, and there is a beautiful Ragamalika, Chandra Chuda Shivashankara Parvati Ramanani Ninage Namo Namo, where in the final charanam, which is very beautifully, incidentally, much of the music here is sung by Vasanta Kumari because nobody greater than her in popularizing the compositions of Purandaradasa. So Shankarabharanam, Hamsanandi, Todi and Kamas. So it comes in reverse. So it goes from Kamas to Hamsanandi, Hamsanandi Todi, Todi Shankarabharanam. That is how the last stanza is structured. And that says, Darage Dakshina Kaveri Tira Kumbapura Vasamu Nine. That is the line. So Kumbapura is Kumbakonam. And so this particular song, let's listen to it. This is the last stanza. The other surprise is going to Tiruvannamalai. Tiruvannamalai, where there is a lovely, much of the Gopurams are all thanks to the Ballalas and then later by the Vijayanagar rulers, the current structure that we see in Tiruvannamalai. There is a song, Karuna Nidhiye Isha Arunagiriya Vasa, which is on this particular shrine. And I had requested Amrita Murali to sing the Pallavi alone, which is what I am playing for you. The tunes are set by R.K. Sriram Kumar for this particular, as is also for that Yantrodharaka Anjaneya Swami too.
Karuna Nidhiye Isha Aruna Giri ईशा अरुण गिरिय पासा करुणा निधिये ईशा अरुण गिरिय पासा करुणा निधिये ईशा अरुण गिरिय पासा करुणा.
We then come to Sri Rangam, which definitely was visited by Purandaradasa, as we know, because there are several songs on Sri Rangam composed by him. But this one, Baba Ranga Bhujanga Shayana Komalanga Kripapanga, says Elu Prakarada Malige, the 7 enclosured palace, which is what Sri Rangam is. And then it says, ಏಳು ಪ್ರಾಕಾರ ಮಾಳಿಗೆ ಮನೆಯೊಳಗೆ ಗಾಳಿಯ ದೇವರ ದೇವ ಸೋಳಸಾಸೀರ ಗೋಪಿಯರಾಳಿದ ಈರೇಳು ಲೋಕದ ಜನಕಾವ ಚಂದ್ರ ಪುಷ್ಕರಿಣಿಯ ತೀರ ವಿಹಾರ. The Chandra Pushkarini is the tank which is inside the Srirangam temple. Ubhaya Kaveriya Madhya Nivasa. So no doubts. We know which Sriranga that he went to, and he composes this particular song. This is a poor recording, but it is our D. Chandrasekhar's mother singing. D. Patamal, who was a great composer in her own right. The term Vaggeyakara is a male reference, so I would say Vaggeyakarini. Perhaps that's the right word, maybe Vaggeyakari is right, I have no idea. But she was a great composer who composed in all the 72 Melakartas and left behind a huge corpus of songs. And I was searching for a good reference, and somehow this recording came up, and then I said, what better tribute to this wonderful lady, because D. Chandrasekhar is the one who got me to come here today and speak on this subject, so I included it here. Sringeri, I told you, I began with Madhava Vidyaranya, so Sringeri was definitely a place. So Pali Samma Muddu Sarade is composed by Purandaradasa on this particular shrine. Balamurali Krishna.
Muddu Sharade Palisamma Muddu Sharade Enna Naligeyali Tappu Barade.
I'm coming to the end of my presentation. In the middle of all, as I said, this Vitala temple, which is so huge, at the end of the Vitala temple complex, there is a forest open area. And then you have this huge stone mandapam, which is on the Tungabhadra, actually in the Tungabhadra. When the floods come, half the mandapam is completely submerged in it and you can't even go in. But when you go in dry weather, you can walk inside. Multiple stone pillars, very low ceilinged. A person of my height can stand, but not anybody taller than me. You have to stoop when you go inside. And then inside this, in a pillar, you have this carving of Purandaradasa. So it is believed that this is Purandara Mantapa. This is where Purandaradasa and the Dasas, and when I say believed, I must say that with a certain degree of certainty, because UNESCO has itself put a stone plaque here which says Purandara Mantapa. So I am willing to believe it and say that this must be backed by some amount of historic research. I do not know when this particular bas-relief of Purandaradasa was carved there, what is the date of this one, but it is there, and it is so quiet. The water is flowing by continuously, and there is a venturi effect in that mantapam. So there's cool breeze blowing all the time. So when you go there and you find yourself alone with Purandaradasa, your first first impulse is to just fall flat at his feet, because there is so much of peace in that mandapam, and there is so much of music that he has given us. And here it is believed that all the dasas met and they would sing all the time. So it is very ironic that at a time when the empire was at its material zenith, there was a group of dasas who were continuously singing that all this will go away one day, nothing will be left, and Vishnu's feet are the only things that you have to. Vaikuntake tamburi meetitava, bhavabdi datitava, thala, the whole thing. Vaikuntake oditava. Sometimes when you listen to that song, you also want to run along with Purandaradasa. That the way he creates that imagery, it brings tears to the eyes. And then the way he sings about what is required for music. Thala beku, taka mela beku, gala suddhi irabeku. You should have clear voice to sing. This is what, simplest of things. And some of his wonderful nindastutis that he composed, where, he starts by saying, I don't have anybody, I am an orphan. Then finally he says, Ninnante Swami yanakundu ninagilla. I have got a Swami, that is you, but you don't have anybody. And then I have got a home, which is your world, but you don't have that. Then I have got a mother who is your queen, Lakumi. Then what is it? Nine paradesi, nene swadesi. You are the paradesi. I am the swadesi. I have got everything in this world. You have nothing. So who is your mother? Who is your father? This is what he asks. And one of the beautiful songs is this Ragi Tandiro. So somehow when I go here, I always think Ragi Tandiro must have been, I can't tell you that it was composed here. I wish I could say that with certainty. But Ragi Tandiro, we must listen to it.
Ragi tandiro, bhiksake ragi tandiro, ragi tandiro, bhiksake ragi tandiro, bhiksake ragi tandiro, bhiksake ragi tandiro. Yogyaragi, Bhogyaragi, Bhagyavantaragi nevu. Yogyaragi, Bhogyaragi, Bhagyavantaragi nevu. Ragi tandiro, Bhiksake, Ragi tandiro, Bhiksake Ragi tandiro, Bhiksake Ragi tandiro. ಅನ್ನದಾನವ ಮಾಡುವರಾಗಿ ಅನ್ನ ಛತ್ರವನಿಟ್ಟವರಾಗಿ ಅನ್ನದಾನವ ಮಾಡುವರಾಗಿ ಅನ್ನ ಛತ್ರವನಿಟ್ಟವರಾಗಿ ಅನ್ಯವಾದಗಳ ಬಿಟ್ಟವರಾಗಿ ಅನುದಿನ ಭಜನೆಯ ಮಾಡುವರಾಗಿ ರಾಗಿ ತಂದಿರೋ ಭಿಕ್ಷಕೆ ರಾಗಿ ತಂದಿರೋ ಭಿಕ್ಷಕೆ ರಾಗಿ ತಂದಿರೋ ಭಿಕ್ಷಕೆ ರಾಗಿ ತಂದಿರೋ. ಮಾತಾ ಪಿತರನ್ನು ಸೇವಿಪರಾಗಿ ಪಾತಕ ಕಾರ್ಯವ ಬಿಟ್ಟವರಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾ ಪಿತರನ್ನು ಸೇವಿಪರಾಗಿ ಪಾತಕ ಕಾರ್ಯವ ಬಿಟ್ಟವರಾಗಿ ಖ್ಯಾತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಿಗಿಲಾದವರಾಗಿ ನೀತಿ ಮಾರ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಖ್ಯಾತರಾಗಿ ರಾಗಿ ತಂದಿ.
So the word ragi is ragi tandiro. Have you given ragi to the bhikshaka? That starts. But then every other line is having done this. So agi. So that is, the whole thing is yogya ragi, bhogya ragi, bhagyavanta ragi nivu. Having become a yogya, having celebrated everything in life, having attained the height of prosperity, have you given ragi to the bhikshaka? That is how it comes. Then annadanava maduvaragi, annachatra dittavaragi. Having given annadanam, then having created an endowment to give rice in perpetuity to people. Then anya vartagale vittavaragi. Having destroyed all other thoughts and speeches and useless words, have you come and given ragi to the bhikshaka? This is how the whole song is structured. It somehow, for me, it encompasses this entire philosophy of Purandaradasa and the way he lived. Before I end, I would just like to come to this one particular unusual one that I found only day before yesterday. I didn't know about it. In S. Rajam's musical letterpads, there is one song of Purandaradasa called Shiva Darshanam, where it says that I had a bath in the Ganga and I worshipped Shiva, this Jyotirlinga, on Shivaratri day. So I then went looking about for it and found that it says Patala Ganga. And the only Jyotirlinga that has got Krishna water as Patala Ganga is the Dhakini Bhima Shankaram. and that probably was visited by Purandaradasa, and he has composed this song there. Again, Vasanta Kumari singing it before I conclude.
ಶಿವದರುಶನ ನಮಗಾಯ್ತು ಕೇಳಿ ಶಿವರಾತ್ರಿಯ ಜಾಗರಣೆ.
Having remained awake on Sivaratri, I saw Shivadarshana.
ನಮಗಾಯ್ತು ಕೇಳಿ ಶಿವರಾತ್ರಿಯ ಜಾಗರಣೆ. ಶಿವದರುಶನ ನಮಗಾಯ್ತು ಕೇಳಿ ಶಿವರಾತ್ರಿಯ ಜಾಗರಣೆ.
Before I conclude, Purandaradasa died in 1564. We do not know where he died. That again, there is an element of dispute. See, as I said, Krishnadeva died in 1529, and then his brother Achyutaraya became the ruler. The succession in Vijayanagar was never smooth, and Krishnadeva also was no saint. He had his elder brother, those who had preceded him were no saints either. His elder brother had decreed that Krishnadeva should be blinded so that his son should become the king. The minister had refused to do it and produced a pair of goat's eyes and showed the dying king that, your brother has been blinded. So once the king died, Krishnadeva becomes the ruler. In 1528, when he realizes that his son has been killed by poison, he loses his mind to an extent where his trusted minister, Saluva Timmanna, who was the minister who actually brought him to the throne, he suspects that minister of having killed his son, and he blinds the minister and puts the minister and his son in prison. And then Krishnadeva dies the next year. We don't even know how he died, whether he died. There is even a theory that he just left the kingdom and went away in sheer, frustration. We don't know all that. But historically, it is assumed that he died in 1529. His brother, who is in prison, is then resurrected and brought and is made the king, Achyutaraya. But the real power behind the throne is Aliya Ramaraya, who is the son-in-law of Krishnadeva. And Achyuta tries to combat Aliya Ramaraya's powers, but is never successful in doing so. Achyuta remains the ruler till the 1540s. The kingdom continues at its zenith. Outwardly, there is no problem, because everything is being administered by the powerful Aliya Ramaraya, and things are going fine. But Achyuta himself is no great king. He is known to be a very vituperative, spiteful, weak ruler. He was nothing that Krishnadeva was. And several scholars left the court. Even Tenali Rama went back to Tenali. He did not live here. Alasani Bedana composes this beautiful poem which says that Krishnadeva took me wherever he went. Today he's gone to a world that I cannot go to. And I am now walking in this earth as a living dead. That is what he says. So they all lamented the departure of Krishnadeva, and then Achyuta rules as king. When Achyuta dies, a puppet ruler, Sadasiva, who is a nephew of Krishnadeva and Achyuta, is placed on the throne, and he is kept virtually in prison and produced only once a year during the Navaratri celebrations to the public. Aliya Ramaraya continues to remain the de facto ruler along with his two brothers, Venkatadri and Tirumala. And they become powerful to such an extent that they begin to interfere in those 5 kingdoms up north that we haven't forgotten about. And whenever they fight amongst each other, these people are invited one against the other. When they go, they destroy mosques. They become more and more arrogant over a period of time. And then in 1564, Purandara dies. 1565, the 5 rulers decide that combined together we can teach Vijayanagar a lesson. And they combine together and become a confederate, and then they all meet at a place called Rakhasi Tangidi, which is Talikota. And the Vijayanagar forces depart. They have seen several battles. They are not going to be defeated. We have taught all these rulers so many lessons in the past. Our own ruler has gone and got the title of Paribhuta Suratrana. That is, he has gone and given the title of Sultan to those kings. So how can we be defeated? It's like an entire town migrating. There are carpenters, there are weavers, there are jewelers, there are merchants feeding the army, courtesans. Everybody is going to that battle. And then the battle commences. Aliya Ramaraya is already 80 years old at that time. Cannons have already come. Gunfire is very common. And he is on an elephant. And at one crucial moment in the battle, when everything is going their way, he changes into a palanquin borne by 4 palanquin bearers and carries with him bags of copper coins. These are meant to be stuffed into the cannons so that when the gunpowder is pushed in and it is fired, the copper coins will shoot out like bullets and kill everybody. So that is what he is doing. Unfortunately, one of the Confederate elephants loses its way, and it comes in front of Aliya Ramaraya's palanquin. The palanquin bearers drop the palanquin and run, and they capture Aliya Ramaraya. He is taken before the 5 kings, and he is beheaded on the spot. The moment he is beheaded, it is over. The army begins to flee, and it is coming back to Vijayanagar, where everything is going on as though it's a normal day. The temple of Vittala is still being constructed. There are markets, there is bazaars, everything is going on as usual, and suddenly they realize that things are not as usual. The real ruler is dead. His brother comes fleeing back, puts together a caravan of 500 elephants and takes the entire treasury with him, and takes the puppet ruler Sadashiva also with him out of Hampi. That has never happened before. Several times the Bahmani sultans have invaded, come up to the border of Vijayanagar. The king has never left. The king has negotiated peace by parting with his treasury, by giving money, sending off the rulers. He used to buy them off. But this time the king chooses to flee. Once that happens, the people of Hampi realize that there is no escape. So they get the youth of the town armed, and they try to put up a resistance. But for 3 days before, that army of Confederates is so huge that it is going to take a week before it comes. And during that time, there is no escape, because the gypsies, the Lambadis in that area, they realize that the town is without guard, and they come and they begin plundering the city. And then a week later, the enemy arrives, and with fire and brimstone, with crowbar and axe, they destroy the city systematically, killing the entire population. The people have nowhere to go. They just have to wait and die. And every temple is destroyed. Every ounce of gold is packed up and taken away. And that is it. Vijayanagar can never come back to what it was. All that Purandara said ultimately comes to pass. It's only the name of Vittala that really survives. And, all this material wealth, everything will go away one day, and that is exactly what happened. And with that, the last great, kingdom of the Deccan, of the peninsula, really vanishes. But it's not as though the sultans were able to enjoy everything. They continued fighting amongst each other after that, and from up north came Akbar, and slowly Aurangzeb thereafter, and conquered everything. So with that, it all ended. But the reason why I just like to end with a personal story. My grandmother, who's now 95, has a favorite Vijayanagar anecdote. So she had a grand uncle who was posted as a deputy Tahsildar of Hampi, of Bellari. One day they were digging a well in the house, and they discovered a gold throne. A gold cradle, actually, not a throne. This is sometime in the early 1900s. The man got all his daughters married off by melting that gold. This is my grandmother's story about her grand uncle. So this was the way people just abandoned everything and went away from Hampi. Overnight, what was a city with 10 lakhs of population, 60 miles of circumference, palaces, temples, treasuries, markets, everything vanished. Somewhere I think there is a kernel of truth in what Purandaradasa said, that this whole world is illusory, and one day it will all go away, no matter what we try to do with it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Sriram. As usual, it was wonderful. How much of facts, how much of history. You must have done a lot of research, and quite an unknown subject. Thank you very much. Thank you all, Rasikas. Thank you.